Okay, we're now joined by the Busch Light Pole Award winner for tomorrow's race, and that is Michael McDowell. Congratulations, Michael. We'll go right to questions. If you have one, please raise your hand. We'll go to Reed and then Dustin.
Reed Spencer with the NASCAR Wire Service. Looking at the Ghost car, you did something in 3 and 4 that no one else could come close to matching. What was it?
Well, this is where I always say being a student and studying matters. Christopher Bell last year in round 2 just kept it a little bit lower off of turn 4, and that's how he was able to get the pole. And so when my car went through 1 and 2 and it had a lot of grip and I didn't feel like I used it all up, I knew that I had an opportunity to potentially do that without scrubbing speed and without putting myself into a bad spot, because that's the chance you take, right? You put wheel into it, gets loose, and you start tracking up. So the car had a lot of speed, obviously a lot of grip, and just from studying and seeing how C. Bell was able to do that last year in round 2, and that was the difference between him getting the pole and not. I felt like it was the right move to make.
Michael, congrats on the pole. Spires had speed all year, specifically in qualifying, a lot of good results. But to finally
is this going to be a dig?
No.
Oh, okay, good.
To finally get a pole, like how important is it for the team's momentum?
Well, I mean, anytime you're building positive momentum, it's great in our sport, and it does matter. I mean, all of it matters. And last week was good for that too. We got all 3 cars in the top 10. The race didn't go well, right? I mean, 2 of our guys crashed in the same crash, so that's no fun. And we had, we had to go to the back with that steering rack change that we made, and they ended up cutting a tire, and that kind of ended our day. So, when you look back at Sunday last week, you're like, oh man, we had such fast cars and we don't have anything to show for it. But that's what's great about our sport is you get to re-rack them and get ready the next week. And, this was the true test for us. I really felt like that. I think I talked about it a little bit last week is this will be the test, because Vegas, places like this, they challenge everything, right? Aerodynamics, engine, setup. You got to hit everything just right to be fast here. And so this was kind of that unknown coming into it of, will we have the speed that we've shown at other places? And obviously we did. And so just really proud of everybody at Spire Motorsports. I mean, we're building something, and we know that, and that's kind of the mindset that we have. And this is just one of those next steps that help us get to the next step. That'll help us get to the next step. Mm-hmm.
Go here in the middle.
Michael, Mitchell Brewer, Black Hat Sports. Michael, this is now your 7th career pole, 7th in the last 2 seasons. What does it mean just to kind of found that speed during qualifying and start getting these poles?
Yeah, it's cool. It's great. I mean, it's a lot of fun to come here and have a shot at being at the pole, and then executing everything perfectly, which is really tough in our sport. You have to hit everything perfect, and you guys saw how tight the times were. One little mistake and that's it. So I'm proud of the effort that goes into making these cars fast. I think the one of the funny things that my crew chief Travis Peterson said, like, we got a pole at Gateway. We got obviously a lot of poles at the Super Speedway, and then we got a pole in a mile and a half. The only place I haven't got a pole is a road course, which that's supposed to be my thing, And so we've been close. Hopefully this will be the year, right, that we can go get a pole at a road course as well and try to, close out all types of tracks. But poles are fun, and it is fun. Today will be great, and everybody's going to go to the hotel and be excited and be pumped up for tomorrow. But wins are what matter. Right, and so tomorrow's what matters, and so it's a much tougher challenge to go win that race tomorrow, but that's the goal, and I think we'll have a race car to contend.
Go here in the middle, and then to Zach.
Tom Zaleski, Iron County Today. Michael, I'm watching you on the TV as the other drivers are all going through their laps. You were exhaling and inhaling constantly and stressing out. What was the mood like when it finally was over and you were in?
No, it's great. I mean, it's hard to watch when you go out early, just because so many fast cars are coming. And with the times as close as they were, I mean, it's literally, hundreds and thousands of a second as you're watching the tracker. And, the tracker's not always 100%. So you're watching it on TV and you're seeing guys start to slide wide and things like that. I'll tell you one thing that was nice is normally you go out there and you put up a big lap, right? And you're shaking and, you know, you got the adrenaline pumping and you execute it. And then you got to get ready to do it again because we used to have 2 rounds, right? And so when I got out, I was like, whew, I don't have to do that again. So there's a little bit of relief as far as that goes. I think that, you know, over the years, too, we've been really good round 1. I think that we've probably would have a lot more poles if it was just round 1. And then round 2, we seem to, you know, slip back. So I think this new format might help us a little bit, or help me. Maybe I'm good at executing it once, but not twice. But yeah, it's nerve-wracking watching everybody go. I think once the Penske cars went, I sort of felt a little bit of relief because typically they're the fastest as far as, you know, trimmed out and straight line speed. And so once we had beat those guys, I felt like we were in a pretty good spot.
Zach?
Zach Sterniello, NASCAR.com. Michael, the transition from front row to Spire with Travis, is there any surprise or, I guess is there any surprise from that you guys are where you are already speed-wise, and that what you are bringing to the team this year is already translating into speed on the racetrack, just because you guys are, you know, different manufacturers,
Yeah.
different teams, different processes?
It's so hard to answer that because as racers, we're so unrealistic. Yes, we thought we would do this. We thought we'd sit on the Daytona pole. You know, I mean, that's just the mindset. It doesn't mean that it's right, and it doesn't mean that it's, you know, going to happen, because it is a lot to learn the tools and the processes. And, you know, what I would say is that Spire had a really good baseline before we got there. I mean, you guys saw last year, at the end of last year, Carson was rattling off top 10s, and him and Luke were qualifying in the second round and doing all the things. So it's not like we came there and we had a lot to go forward to be in this spot, you know, and it's details and it's people and processes, and we still have a lot to do. I mean, we are not where we want to be. I mean, today the speed is where we want to be, but there's so many things that have to, you know, happen over the next 30 days, 90 days, 6 months, year, to put us in a real position to contend week in and week out. But we're moving in that direction. And so I'm glad we are where we are, but I'm not surprised by it, but I probably should be, if that answers it.
We have time for 2 more. We'll go to Bob and then wrap with Jeff.
Bob Hockers, Fox Sports. You may not know yet, but a lot of people, last fall, the Pulsar didn't pick pit stall 1. They picked pit stall 6.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if you know which one you're going to pick.
You know, it's one of those things that I study all aspects of driving. I do not study aspects of strategy or pit stall selection. I let the smart people do that, and they tell me where we're going to be and how we're going to go. And so I'm not sure what Travis's game plan was at, but I do know that he's prepared, and he always thinks we're going to get the pole, so he's not surprised by it. So he already has a plan. So we'll see which one he picks here. But, yeah, so I stay out of those types of things unless I have an opinion where, you know, just track history and things like that. So we'll see.
Jeff?
Michael, there's been a conversation this year ongoing about the approval process between Mike Wallace and Elio, Catherine. Casey Mears is now also involved. You know, where do you see the approval process in NASCAR? You've obviously raced multiple different kinds of cars. You made the leap from ARCA yourself to Cup. Do you think there needs to be a different process? Are you fine with how things are? How do you see it?
Well, I can tell you what my process was as far as back then, and I don't know if it's the same now, is I had to, I signed my Cup deal with MWR before I ever stepped into a truck or Xfinity car or a Cup car, right? So I knew I was going Cup racing. We just didn't know how we were going to actually get there. And so I had to run a truck race at Martinsville to be approved to run an Xfinity car or Nationwide car or whatever it was at the time at a bigger track. And I think I ran Phoenix in the Xfinity car, and then I ran Texas in the Xfinity car. And before I could run the Cup car at any of those other tracks, I had to run Daytona in an Xfinity car. Like, that was the process. I had to do all the different tracks in lower series in order to do that. And so that was the approval process then. And And I don't know if it's the same. And, you know, I know what you're asking, and it's a tough question to ask because, you know, Elio's a world-class race car driver, and he should be approved. I mean, it'd be crazy to think that he wouldn't. Now, does that mean that he has a ton of experience in our cars and is prepared for every single situation and every single dirty air situation and all those things? No, but either was Kyle Larson at the Indy 500, right? There's certain things that if you don't do it all the time, you're just not going to know and you're not going to have. Mike Wallace, he's a tremendous speedway racer. Out of all the places that you could run him, you could probably run him there pretty confidently and not think about it, just because of the amount of experience he has in all the different situations. Casey Mears, I mean, I have no problem with Casey Mears driving. He's done 490 Cup starts and is a great race car driver, and he's not that far removed from it. So I don't think we've missed it. I don't think it's an issue, but you're putting a lot on a driver to know all these different aspects in a one-off situation. Same with Catherine, too. She's a world-class race car driver, driven all over the world in all different types of race cars. I don't feel like she's underqualified, but she doesn't have the experience situationally in our cars. And I don't know how much racing would, if she did an Xfinity race at Phoenix, I don't know if that would change anything.
Well, congratulations on the pole,
Thank you.
Michael, and thanks for all the
Yeah,
time.
thank you, guys.
Appreciate you.